Okay, so guys, I think I have it. The almost perfect power bank for me. The Bluetti AC50B. So the last video we released was just before Prime Day, and it was comparing the Bluetti AC180 to the Bluetti AC70. And a lot of you who've been on the fence between those two power banks said that that video was really helpful. So today we're going to kind of carry on that power bank theme by reviewing one of Bluetti's newest power banks. This is the Bluetti AC50B. Now I know that this new power bank is the one that I will personally be taking around all the time because I already have and absolutely loved it. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would I bring this power bank around when I have much larger power banks? Right over here, I have the AC70, which is like 1,000 watts with 768 watt hours. And then over here, I have the AC180, which is 1,800 watts with 1,152 watt hours. Why would I forgo either of these and bring around this guy? Well, really, three reasons. One, size. This thing is much smaller than the AC180, and it is smaller than the AC70, so it's a lot more compact and I can fit a lot more gear. Second thing is weight. I mean, this is pretty heavy. This has some weight to it, but this one is so easy to carry around. And third is because I have a dual battery setup in the Jeep, so I haven't needed a larger capacity power bank like I used to. I am aware that a lot of you don't have dual battery setups, but that doesn't mean that the AC50 wouldn't be right for you. So let's go over the physical features of the power bank first and foremost. It is your standard Bluetti. It looks just like the AC180, looks just like the AC70. All of their power banks are very consistent like that, which is what I love. Layouts for their power banks is also pretty much the same. You have your Bluetti logo down here, and then up here you have your DC input. So if you want to charge this up with a 12-volt socket or your solar, that's where this goes. I'm also glad that they basically made this the same as the AC70. So if you have this kind of port or this kind of cable already from Bluetti, then that'll fit in there. And then right below that you have your 12-volt socket. So if you have anything that needs to be plugged up to 12 volts, it goes right there. We'll go over all of the specs on each of these ports in just a bit. Now right in the middle you have your display, and it basically looks just like all of their other power banks as well. You have your power right in the middle, and then on the left side you have how much your input is, and then on the right is your output. So how much is coming out of the unit and how much is coming into the unit if you're charging it up. Power button is right below that, and then you have two buttons on each side. One is DC and one is AC. So if you want to activate the AC ports, you press this button, and if you want to activate the DC ports right here and right here, then you press the other button right there. Below that you have your DC ports, and I am so glad it's mostly USB-Cs. You get two USB-Cs and one USB-A. And then over on the other side you have your AC ports. And then what I really love is, again, that built-in handle. That way you know that it's solid, it's not going to fall apart on you or snap off. So the size of this unit, it's about 10.58 wide, and it's about 8.38 inches tall and about 8 inches deep. So let's go over some specs. This is a 700 watt 448 watt hour power bank. And as I mentioned in my last video, the difference between watts and watt hours is watts is how powerful this thing is, which is 700 watts. Now I should mention that yeah, it's 700 watts, but it does come with a 1000 watt power lifting mode. And power lifting mode is basically if you have some really high wattage devices that you plug into this thing, it'll kick on to the power lifting mode just to be able to run those devices a little bit more efficiently and without giving you any issues. And then the watt hours is how long you can run those devices with this kind of power, and you get 448 watt hours. And let's say you're using this to run the fridge that's in your vehicle, and I'm gonna just kind of round out some numbers here, right? Because I know that those numbers will vary depending on outside temperature and things like that. But on average, my fridge will probably kick on and be at 30 watts for like a minute to cool the fridge, and then it shuts off. 15 minutes later, it'll kick back on again for like 30 watts for like a minute, and then it shuts off again. So in 1 hour, if it's kicking on every 15 minutes, then 30 times 4, you're basically looking at 120 watts just for 4 minutes. So we're gonna just simplify this, right? 120 divided by 60, which is 60 minutes, 2 watts a minute for that hour. But we'll be even more generous. Let's say your fridge takes up 5 watts every hour. 5 watts every hour, 448 watt hours. So 448 divided by 5, 89.6 hours. So that would be somewhere around 3.5 to 4 days you can run your fridge without ever needing to charge this thing back up. Now, unless you're stationary at camp for 4 days and you're not going anywhere, you'll be able to stretch this out even longer, because again, during the day, we're usually driving and hitting the trails, and during that time, my vehicle is usually powering up my fridge. But realistically, there are other things that you are also charging up, like your tablets, your phones, your camera batteries, or you might be running electric blankets, you might be running AC units, heaters, whatever else that's gonna take up some power. Now, as far as specs for each of these ports, DC input brings in 12 volts to 28 volts at 8.5 amps up to 200 watts. So 200 watts through your 12 volt socket or through solar, that's how much will go in through there. Now, coming out, the DC output that you get from this 12 volt socket, this one is 12 volts, 10 amps. And then for the USBs that you have here, the 2 USB-Cs can bring in 65 watts. So rapid charging, you'll be able to charge up all your devices pretty quickly, and you do get 2 of them. And then the USB-A, that's 15 watts. For your AC output, you have 120 volts, 700 watts. So you can put up to 700 watts into here, and that'll basically handle anything. My AC unit that I've been using, when that's running, that takes up like 107 watts. So I can still plug that on here and be totally fine. Now, 100 watts though, I'm only going to be able to run that AC unit for, I don't know, maybe 4.5 hours before this thing dies. This does have rapid charging, which basically gets you to 80% in just 45 minutes. It also has a 5-year warranty and has Bluetooth, which means you can monitor and control this device with their app. Actually, I just realized I haven't like synced this to my app yet. Like, I've been using it, but I haven't synced it to my app yet along with my other Bluetti devices. So I'll actually show you how to do that now. First thing you're going to want to do is download the Bluetti app. Once you have that downloaded, go ahead and click on it. You're going to want to go ahead and log in. Now, if you haven't done this before yet, then you're going to want to go ahead and create a login. But basically, once you're in, you're going to see add device. You'll also see my device. If I show you, you'll see that I have 2 other devices on here, the AC180 and the AC70. So we're going to go ahead and add a device. Just click on that icon. We're going to go ahead and add, and I see it here, the AC50B. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Binding successful, hit start, and you'll see that right now it's 98%, 0 watts everywhere else. And you'll see I now have 3 of my power banks on this app, and I can monitor them individually. Now, in the beginning, I did say that this was an almost perfect power bank because there are a couple things that I wish this thing had, but it's more of a nitpicky thing that I'm hoping they change sometime in the future. Number one, I would love more USB ports. It would be great if there were 2 more USB-Cs and maybe 1 more USB-A, so you'll have like 6 ports total. Second, I wish they had that wireless charging up here. Seriously, Bluetti, if you're listening, put it on all your power banks because it's great. So back to my original question in the beginning, why would I bring this power bank over my other power banks and why should you? Okay, well, my first reason was because I have a dual battery setup, but we're gonna push that aside because a lot of you don't have a dual battery setup. I would bring this around simply because of the size and the weight. Size of this is easy for me to pack this in my cargo area along with the other gear that I have. And secondly, the weight, it's very easy to carry and I can bring this up and down the ladder of my rooftop tent without hauling something that's much heavier. Let's say you're cooking away from your vehicle and you have a table set up. You don't have to lug a humongous power bank over there. You can just kind of bring this along to run coffee makers, electric stoves, or what have you. Or if you're doing beach days, in fact, this past weekend here on Pensacola Beach was Blue Angel weekend and I brought this with me, and I can only imagine if I would have brought the AC180 and had to lug that from where we parked our vehicle to where we were stationed on the beach, that would have been a pain in my. The point I'm trying to make is that we tend to live with this conditioning that bigger is better or more capacity is better. Like you want to go to a restaurant that offers tons of food because you feel like you got your money's worth, even if you may not finish all of it. I really shouldn't be that dude talking about eating. I mean, it's a solid argument. It's really about knowing how much do you actually consume so that you can buy the appropriate power bank for the power needs that you have. Weekend trip, this will be just fine. 448 watt hours, that's a lot. It'll be able to run your fridges, recharge your phones, recharge your laptop. You'll be okay. And if you're gonna be stationary for that weekend and you know that you're in an area where you can get some sunshine, bring some solar so that you can keep this thing topped off. If you're gonna be out for even longer, then think about how often of that time are you going to be on the road? Because if you're going to be on the road a ton, then just use your vehicle to charge this thing back up. And because it's smaller, it's going to charge up a lot faster. By the time you get to your destination, this should be close to or back to 100% already. And then you're good to go for the next 12 hours before you leave again. Now, I'm not telling you to discard your bigger power banks. If you like bigger power banks and you know you use up all that power, then by all means continue to bring it. But if you're just bringing a bigger power bank for the sake of having extra power when you know you're not really consuming it at all, then save yourself the weight and the space and go with something just a little bit smaller and easier to carry around. Actually, here's what I want you to do if you have a bigger power bank. Next time you hit the road, then use up that power bank, but don't recharge it back up. Just use it the way you normally do. Do it for like a weekend, do it for like a week, and then when you get home, check how much percentage is left. Because I used to do that. I used to bring the humongous power banks with me and then I get home and there's still 90% left on it. And I'm thinking in my head, like, did I really need to bring this huge power bank and only used up 10% of the power that it has? Calculate all the devices that you've been charging up, how many watts is it taking up, and then maybe, just maybe, something like this would be plenty. But anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the review on the new Bluetti AC50B. Please make sure you smash, actually, don't smash, size down that like button so that it's easier to carry around. Subscribe to our channel. Click that notification bell so we can let you be aware of new videos when they come out. And if it moves you, support us on Patreon. It gives you access to all of our videos before everyone else and gives you access to our live streams when we do them. And as always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at BSuburban4601. My name is Asia Sampson, and I will see you next time.